604 Talk 1073 FM, WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane off and running. Brian here with you. John LaBeouf producing, getting you ready for a Wednesday show. Busy Wednesday show. No legally served this morning. Just a heads up. No legally served this morning. Franz is out. Richard's out. And was going to make some more phone calls. And then I realized, oh, yeah, Jill Dougherty from CNN. We kind of bailed on her interview the other day. So let's do that instead. Plus, we're going to catch up with Rodney Mallett from DOTD. Big morning for them. A little bit of a late start on. Well, I tell you what, we'll get to that in a second. Top stories and trending. Let's go.
Number 5.
Grabbing this from our news partners at WBRZ, it looks like about 5,000 people are without power in Baton Rouge to start off the morning, according to Entergy's outage map. Largely affected customers are in the Shenandoah and Old Jefferson areas. No clear reason immediately given for the outage. There was some nasty weather rolled through last night, but they didn't necessarily go to bed with the power out. They just woke up with the power out. Entergy reported it's 4,999 customers. We'll keep an eye on to see how long before they're back up and running.
Number 4.
Yesterday was Southern University Day out at the state capitol. School leaders showed off the work, research, and innovations taking place at the school. Asked state lawmakers to continue their support to Southern University and the Southern University system. Today, by the way, is LSU Day. Tomorrow, LCTCS.
Number 3.
The YMCA on South Foster Drive will officially reopen on Monday at the same location, the A.C. Lewis branch of the YMCA. This, according to the organization, it's following a $30 million investment in Mid-City. The YMCA at 350 South Foster Drive shares a property with The Point in Mid-City, a brand new 4-story apartment complex with 100 units. That's only 100 units? It looks so much bigger than that. Anyway, current members get the sneak peek this week, and it is gorgeous.
Number 2.
Police are investigating the death of a homeless woman as a homicide after she was found decomposing in a boarded up apartment on Monday morning. BRPD said 34-year-old Shaquinta Scott was found by a worker near a boarded up vacant apartment unit at a building on Monet Drive around 10 a.m. Monday morning. They are investigating.
Number 1.
2 people were injured in a shooting on Nicholson Drive, officials said. Happened at the 2500 block in Nicholson. Officials said one person was taken to the hospital in stable condition. The other one went to the hospital by themselves. Before we dive into what's trending this morning, do want to give a quick update on the interstate. We're going to talk with Rodney Mallett from DOTD coming up at 6:50. But man, up until just a couple minutes ago, it was quite the mess on the interstate. Lanes were the 10 westbound and 12 westbound were both down to one lane as they were doing the final touches on getting those College Drive exits opened up. Now, the exits were supposed to be open at 5 a.m. I went through it right at 5, like about 10 minutes to 5, and it was just ginormous backups. John, you were running about 20 minutes behind me.
Yeah.
What were you looking at this morning?
Same thing. It was really congested at an airline.
All right. So my handy dandy little map is showing me we're all good now.
Okay.
So I'm going to work under the assumption that the exits are open, the 10 and 12 exits to College Drive. Assumption. We'll get with Rodney coming up at the bottom of this hour. What's trending, John?
Well, before his funeral on Saturday, the body of Pope Francis will be on display for public viewing starting this morning.
That's so Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then the funeral will be. So that's 4 days of public viewing right there.
Yeah.
And it's just going to be like one constant line, right? I mean, just a constant procession the whole way through just to see the Pope, just to say goodbye,
right,
and whatnot. And then after the funeral on Saturday, what I think it's Sunday or Monday, they'll go. I think it's Monday is when conclave begins.
Okay.
So
yeah.
Yep. We'll start our Pope watch on Monday.
All right. In other news, President Donald Trump said the 145% tariffs he imposed on Chinese imports will eventually come down substantially, as he expressed optimism about future talks to reach the U.S.-China trade deal.
I mean, let's hope so. Everyone's saying
Yeah.
it's not sustainable. Trump's own people now are saying it's not sustainable. I think we all knew it wasn't sustainable.
Oh, yeah.
And my biggest concern right now is your bargain sites like Shein and Temu. Once they go up on prices, which happens day after tomorrow, are they ever going to go back down again? Do prices ever really go down, or do they just go up at a slower pace?
In this case, yeah, I think we might be looking at a slower pace, and which is a shame. So
It is.
Let's get our Temu and Shein orders in now.
Yep.
Act fast, people. Brian, today marks 20 years since the very first YouTube video was uploaded.
I feel so old. YouTube is 20?
It's insane, right? Look how far we've come, Brian. As far as technology
If
comes.
YouTube is 20? All right.
Yeah, I know, right? You start putting things into perspective.
Mm-hmm.
It's like,
yeah. It's so weird. Like the whole social media world is so weird. One of my favorite things on TikTok is when they show old Vines. And I'm like, to think of Vine in the terms of old. Like Vine and old.
Yeah.
No. And my kids still say, mom and dad were born in the 1900s.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, first of all, yes, it's true. It's factually accurate. But, don't make me sound like I was like roaming with Mozart somewhere, Me and Johann Sebastian Bach didn't run amok.
Writing some bangers out there.
Right.
It's originally how you got into radio. You're like, people need to hear this.
Yeah. This latest Brahms is, man, total banger.
Oh, man. But yeah, look how far we've come.
20 years of YouTube.
Incredible.
We're at 611 at Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Rough night for baseball last night, decent night for softball. Either way, you had a lightning delay right in the middle. We'll talk about both those things next. Don't forget, top stories and trending always brought to you by the Baton Rouge Metro Airport. FlyBTR.com is the website. FlyBTR.com. Whether you're talking business travel or personal travel, Baton Rouge Metro Airport is here for you in our own backyard. And if you're doing a little price comparison, do me a favor. Don't just look at straight up ticket prices. And oh, by the way, if you look at connecting flights, keep in mind, if you're looking for more connecting flights, you don't want to have to drive an hour all the way down the road and then have to pay for parking on top of that, the exorbitant amounts that it costs to pay for parking down there. FlyBTR.com. Support a business in your own backyard. Take a look at the full picture when purchasing your tickets. And before you make your travel arrangements, give them a good look. FlyBTR.com. Quick break. We'll talk sports next. Do what? Oh, did I fall? Are you on the softball list? Did I get you the softball last night? Baseball final call. Okay, can you grab 3.3? That's not Shenandoah and Old Jefferson. Horsey, well, I guess you get the Shenandoah from Horsey, but like BRZ and Ray have two completely different ideas going on over here. How long's the final call for Blair? I don't need the whole minute 35. Shoot. And I don't know if it's back end or front end that we need to cut off on. Do we have time? Forget it. Come on. .616 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Sports time and a lot of action last night over at LSU. Baseball was playing, softball was playing. Baseball was looking good. I mean, they started off Curiel homers in the bottom of the first, gives LSU a 1-0 lead. Pearson homers in the bottom of the second, puts LSU up 2-0. Top of the third inning, lightning strikes. And seemingly forever later, they got started. They didn't restart until it was well over an hour for LSU baseball. Now, in contrast, LSU softball, playing a third of a mile away, got started about 40 minutes after the lightning struck. So around 8:30 was when softball resumed. Baseball didn't resume until 9:20. I'm not sure why a third of a mile away there's that disparate of a resumption time. But baseball was on the shelf for some time, and once they got back out there, the wheels just fell off. The Tigers, who were up 2-0 in the top of the third when the lightning struck, when they resumed, Northwestern State put up a 6 spot in the top of the third, another run in the fourth, 3 in the sixth, 3 in the seventh. LSU was only managed to squeak one more run across home plate before it was all said and done. Know that baseball.
He's had 12 at-bats this year. He's 4 for 12.
The 0-1 ground ball knocked down by the third baseman Rocco, and he'll throw over. Gump makes the play, and the Demons have ruled the Tigers of LSU in 7 innings tonight, 13-3. Tigers suffer the loss. They're 34-8 now on the year. They remain 12-6 in league play. Northwestern State celebrating as they should, picking up their 25th win of the year. 25-17. They also remain 15-9 in Southland Conference play.
Chris Blair on the call for the LSU Sports Radio Network. It's worth noting, first midweek game or midweek non-conference game that LSU has lost on the season. I mean, did so in ridiculous fashion. But after the wait, after that lengthy lightning delay, or I say lightning delay because there was very, very little rain. Just a couple drops here, a couple drops there. But when there's lightning, you do have to shut it down for a minimum of half an hour. So from that time, once they resumed, I mean, forget it. It was over with. So LSU falls to Northwestern State last night, 13-3, your final score. They will host number 5 in the nation, Tennessee, for a 3-game set this weekend. First game, Friday, 6:30 p.m. You'll hear it on our sister station, Eagle 98.1. Meanwhile, Beth Tarina and her softball Tigers were able to pick up the pieces a lot quicker. Like I said, it was 7:51 when they had to make the call on the lightning. When the field cleared, I was producing softball, so you heard that right here on Talk 107.3 FM. When they cleared the field, it was 7:51. They resumed play at 8:30. I tell you what, I'm looking at the clock right now. I want to make sure we stay on time for the Fox Business Report. We got a lot of ground yet to cover, so we'll talk LSU softball. Pelicans making news yesterday as well. We'll cover both of those things next. Here is the Fox Business Report. How's everybody doing this morning? One. Seven. All right, once everything got cleaned up on 10 westbound and lanes opened back up, traffic started flowing again. That got really rolling before the show this morning. So it's been good to go for the last half hour. So that being said, looking at the rest of your interstate systems, we got some light volume on 12 westbound, way back by the Range Avenue exit. That it's actually later than most mornings at this point. 10 westbound coming in from Ascension Parish looks great. 10 eastbound coming in from Westbounders looks great, as does 110. Both bridges are smooth sailing as well. Only one Surface Street exit to report at this time, and it's from a little over a half an hour ago. Coursey at Sherwood. Coursey at Sherwood is being worked right now by BRPD, and that is the only thing we're looking at from the Shopville Star Traffic Center. Shep Boys has generously donated items autographed by former LSU star Justin Jefferson for our Dreams Come True Radiothon. Donate between now and April 30th. Enter for a chance to receive one of two pieces of priceless memorabilia. Two prizes will be awarded to separate contributors. Visit talk1073.com to donate today. It is 624 Talk 1073 FM, continuing kind of the rollover of our sports segment here. One more note on baseball before we close that book for the morning, and that is it always stinks to lose to an in-state team, to lose to a smaller team, a Southland Conference team. It stinks to lose a midweek game. Worth noting, 7 top 25 teams lost on a Tuesday night, lost last night. Like 7 of the top 25 lost last night alone. Now, granted, 2 of them were playing other top 25 teams, so somebody was going to lose. But when just shy of a third drop a Tuesday night, drop a midweek game, when number 1 Texas was taken to the brink, they beat Texas State 14-11. But when you see like, who was it? Vandy, who's what, number 9 in the country? They lost to Middle Tennessee 5-3. Oregon, number 13 in the country. They lost to Portland 10-9. Number 14, Oklahoma was a 5-3 loser to Oral Roberts. So it always stinks to lose a midweek game, and it really stinks to get run ruled. But that's what midweek games are for. They're tune-ups. They don't carry with them the weight that your conference play does. So, meanwhile, over at Tiger Park, much shorter lightning delay. Beth Tureen and her Tigers, kind of the opposite of the baseball team. They did not have it all together right at the blocks. In fact, LSU's starting pitcher last night did not even record an out. Let me pull up there's the box score. Ashley Vallejo, she gave up 2 hits. She gave up 2 walks. She gave up 2 runs. Both of them earned. Tatum Clopton came in and was phenomenal after that. There was a little bit of question as to whether or not she was going to, maintain that momentum after the lightning delay. She did not miss a beat. She gave up 4 hits on the whole night. They were scattered throughout. Nobody really challenged to score at that. After that, there was, I think, 1 double was the closest that McNeese came to scoring after those first 2 runs. Clopton also struck out 2. On the offensive side, it wasn't until the bottom of the 3rd that the Tigers broke through to finally score. And it was Jalea Lassiter who came through.
And the pitch to Lassiter, the drive to left fielder back, looking up, and it's off the fence. That's going to score both runs and tie the game. Lassiter to second with a 2-run double. And we're tied at 2. Lassiter, double number 12, RBIs 28 and 29. It was over Mundine. The question would it be high enough to get out of the park? And the answer was not quite, as it hit halfway up the fence on the fly. But the Tigers have tied it and have a chance to go ahead.
And they would. LSU only scored 1 inning last night. It was a 5-run inning, and that was enough to get the win. 5-2 your final score there. LSU softball will host Florida this weekend. Bit of a different setup. It's going to be a Saturday, Sunday, Monday series. So Saturday at 1 right here on Talk 107.3 FM. You just heard Patrick Wright on the call there. He will be on the call this weekend as well. We're going to pivot over to the NBA in 60 seconds. Do need to ask you about your lunch plans first, though. I want to remind you about the folks at P.F. Chang's. Hey, it's getting to be graduation time. P.F. Chang's, don't forget about them if you're making your graduation reservations. If you want to set up, bringing the family in for to see the youngster walk across stage, P.F. Chang's is here for you. Get yourself a larger reservation, a larger table, whatever the case might be. They can accommodate that. They can accommodate larger parties over at P.F. Chang's. In fact, they thrive in that environment. You know where to find them. They're off Corporate Boulevard in Town Center. Look for the giant golden horse. They've got your happy hour specials every day. They have got, it's a little bit healthier, a little bit lighter Asian fare over at P.F. Chang's, and it is delicious. Pelicans made it official yesterday, formally introducing Joe Dumars as their new executive vice president of basketball operations. Gail Benson talked about during the opening press conference. Joe Dumars talked about the mandate he got from Gail Benson in his opening press conference.
I don't know the culture inside the building. I don't know the people. I know some of the people. I know Willie. I've been knowing Willie forever. Great man. But Willie and I, we haven't even sat down and talked yet. So I haven't even really had a chance to do that yet. I'm slowly starting to do it now and talk to everyone. But no mandate, zero, nothing like that.
Just building a winner is all that he's got in front of him. Now, Dumars is past. We know him from here in Louisiana. Playing wise, 14th season with the Pistons, 2 world championships. He's in the Basketball Hall of Fame. Spent another 14 seasons as an executive with the Pistons, building the team that won the 2004 championship. Then he spent 3 seasons over with the Sacramento Kings front office before moving to the league office a few years ago. Dumars says a lot has changed in the game since the title with the Pistons 21 years ago.
Coming here and working for Ms. Benson, coming here and looking at the core of who's here. I've been knowing Willie since he was at Cooley High in Detroit. And so I just thought all those things together, for me personally, it was just like, this is the right fit. This is perfect right here.
We're coming up on 6:30 at Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. We're going to take a quick break. We will check news. We will check traffic. We will check weather. CNN's Jill Dougherty going to join us next. All right. Do we not have ABC News? It's not back there. Do we not have ABC News at all? Okay, well, there's nothing playing. Come back to me then. Okay, apparently we're having a problem picking up ABC News. So let's just bail on it. Let's just bail on it. We'll figure it out for the top of the hour. Local news, traffic, weather, then Jill Dougherty next. They're on selector 1. Okay. Yeah, after weather, I want you to come back to me so I can toss to the interview. Lights out O'Neill at George O'Neill. All right, well, that would be Shenandoah for sure. Jack says they're all recent Haldane shows deleted. Can't see yesterday's Cassidy segment. Facebook deletes shows after 30 days now. But Senator Cassidy did have to reschedule with us yesterday. He ran long with TV, was not able to make it over here. They were going to try and do it over the phone, but we were having trouble connecting. So I was like, let's just bail. We'll pick back up another time. No legally served today, Keith. Franz is gallivanting around. I think he's in Georgia. Are lights out Jones Creek at Corsi? I believe so. Eric says 10 days in the non-garage parking under 100 is nice. Is it here in Baton Rouge? You know what's even nicer? Leaving your car in the driveway and Ubering to the airport. I don't care how many days it is, you're still only running yourself about 18, 20 bucks plus tip. You're not Ubering to the New Orleans airport. I don't have internet. Every day this shit does this. Why? No, it's midday too. I just can't stay connected to the LAN network, and I don't know why. All right, you heard it in traffic right there. The power outages around Shenandoah are running amok this morning, so we will keep you up to date on that. Right now, though, let's get your forecast from Emma Kate Cowan. Was it Monday or yesterday we were supposed to play this back? It was Monday. Who did we end up getting? That's right. Okay. Yeah. All right. 637 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. So Monday morning we were supposed to late last week I got the chance to talk with Jill Dougherty. Jill Dougherty used to run CNN's Moscow office way back in the day when CNN reported news. She's got a new book out. It's a great conversation. We were supposed to have it for you Monday morning. However, the Pope died. And I made the call, said let's bail on the interview. We talked with ABC's News' Jim Ryan, who had all the information on the Pope's death. So, we decided to punt on that. And with us not having a legally served this morning, now would be the perfect time to hear it. So here's my conversation with Jill Dougherty. Getting to be about that time where we break down the summer required reading list. This year, we're starting off with My Russia, What I Saw Inside the Kremlin. Former CNN Moscow bureau chief Jill Dougherty joins us now. Jill, welcome to Talk 107.3. How you doing this morning?
Oh, I'm doing fine. Thank you very much, Brian. Really glad to be here.
No, glad to have you on here. Glad you're taking this look inside, or you have taken this look inside the Kremlin. Before we get into the book, My Russia, before we get into the book, I want to talk about what was your motivation to write this? What made you want to put pen to paper here?
Well, I started studying Russian in high school, and I've always been interested in it. And then it became my career. And over the years, people would say, hey, Jill, you have to write a book. And although I'd written a bunch of stuff for my entire life, I'm a journalist, I kept thinking, yikes, a book. Oh, my goodness, I'll never be able to do that. But I started thinking about it probably 6 years ago. And I started doing little interviews with people who were important, like my high school Russian teacher. And I actually did an interview with him, Brian, 1 year before he died. And I just, I called him up. I went to his kitchen and sat there with his wife, did the interview. And then a year later, unfortunately, he died. And so I thought, wow, this is really valuable. I better get going. And then eventually a friend of mine said, so how, are you ever going to write that book? Or are you just talking about it? So I did. And it turned out to be, I'd say, a combination of Cold War history, which is my background, because I grew up in the Cold War, and then modern Russia, Putin, taking us right up to the invasion of Ukraine in, February 2022, which is like 3 years ago.
So, and it's interesting because the Cold War history versus modern history, or versus, really versus our headlines, we're starting to see a little bit of history repeat itself, and a little bit of, yeah, I've read this story before. Tell me about My Russia. Tell me about the book itself.
Well, and I have to say, you're absolutely right, Brian. I mean, I am looking now at events that are taking place and thinking, what did they do in the Cold War that was similar?
Mm-hmm.
You know? So the book, it begins, actually, I was in Moscow when the tanks rolled over the border into Ukraine 3 years ago. So I begin there. And then I say, this is a country that I've been fascinated with all my life. And I wrote this book to understand it. And then I go back in history. So I talk about high school, talk about the space race. I talk about John Kennedy. I talk about Khrushchev and all sorts of programs, importantly, that the U.S. government had for studying what were called critical languages. And Russian was definitely number one. And then I had a lot of different experiences, and thanks to the U.S. government, really, for a lot of study programs. And then I got into CNN when CNN was basically just created by Ted Turner. So I started with them in 1983, and CNN was started in 1980. It was revolutionary. I mean, I think a lot of, like, my young students at Georgetown really don't understand how revolutionary it was to have 24-hour cable news. It didn't exist before that.
Right.
So I was with CNN for actually my entire career. And so it traces that career. There's a lot about the media, controlling the media, a lot about Putin. There's a lot about Ukraine. And there's even, dare I say, there's even a lot about how Russians drink vodka. So it's got a lot, it's serious, but it is definitely not an academic book. It's really my attempt to explain Russia.
And how do you explain Russia? just the general overview here. I know I don't want to give any real spoilers from the book, but there's evolution within your take.
Yeah, I mean that is so hard, because anyone who's ever studied Russia knows that it's kind of impossible to totally understand. But I think, number one, it is a very big country, physically very big, which has been invaded over the centuries by the Mongols, the Nazis, and everybody else in between. So there is an element, I would say, of some paranoia about the invader, who is going to invade us next. And that kind of plays into NATO and the idea that some Russians have that NATO is about to take over Russia, kick Putin out of office, overthrow him, and take over the country and take its natural resources. I mean, some Russians actually do believe that. So that plays into, I think, the drama that we're seeing right now with the war against Ukraine. And those memories are very strong. And the other element I think that's really important, Brian, is the difficulty that Russians have had for, the 20th and the 21st century, which is a revolution in 1917, complete revolution. Then you had World War II. 20 million people died on that side in the Soviet Union during World War II. Some of them murdered by Stalin, but some, of course, killed by the Nazis. Then you had the end of the Soviet Union, that the whole country falls apart, and you have 15 different countries that emerge from that. Then you have the banking crisis in 1998, etc. Then you have this invasion of Ukraine. So it has not been an easy ride, and I think Russians they just want security and stability, a lot of them.
And that's something that they've been lacking, as you just spelled out, throughout their last 100+ years. We're talking with Jill Dougherty, author of My Russia, What I Saw Inside the Kremlin. Jill, there's also some parallels there between how information gets to Russians, and it's amazing from our end, because this is the internet age. We have all the world in our pocket on our phones. But when it comes to, you talk about sort of certain Russians believing NATO's out to get them, information dissemination is different over there than it is here.
Well, it is. I mean, there are definitely TV traditionally has been really, really important. And that affects the older generation.
Mhm.
All of them watch TV. However, the young people are on the web and they do have phones and they're checking the internet and they're on YouTube and, all sorts of other things that right now the Kremlin is a little nervous about having, like TikTok and some of the other apps that the Kremlin is trying to control. So, yes, they do, young Russians have access to a whole lot of things, but the Kremlin is making it more difficult for them to do that. So you do have people using VPNs, which I think we probably all know, a way of kind of skirting that and getting out of the system and seeing what you want to see. But that doesn't mean that, the schools now they're changing the textbooks that young Russians read. And they're definitely militarized and weaponized against the West. So it's very hard to escape a lot of that, that propaganda. Do they believe it? Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But it's a funny, combination. I think younger people have more chance to see what's going on in the world, but a lot of them are patriotic at the same time.
Which is it's amazing to see how we just have it all, right? We have it all, and what they have is it's a different picture, to be sure. And you paint a heck of a picture. In my Russia, what I saw inside the Kremlin. She's former CNN Moscow bureau chief Jill Dougherty. Thank you so much for a couple minutes this morning.
Thank you, Brian.
It's 6:47 at Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Tell you what, let's go ahead and take a quick break. We'll check traffic. We'll check your money now. We've got Rodney Mallet up next. We might be a couple of seconds over for your money now. But Rodney Mallet will be on the hotline on the back end, and I want to give him plenty of time. And good morning, Christy. Hope you're up and at 'em this morning. I'm gonna get with Cade. We need to have a rotator of mood. There needs to be more than one promo running at a time, because it's the third time we've heard that this hour. Mm. It is 6:52 at Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Quick update on the outage, the power outage out there in Shenandoah. Entergy reporting that what was around 5,000 customers is now down to about 1,400. That is good news. Also good news is it's almost all residential at this point. The outages that were up and down Coursey Boulevard around Shenandoah, it looks like there's just a tiny stretch of Coursey that's still without power right now that might affect a red light or two. Not nearly what we were looking at this time. Well, I should say this. Not nearly what we were looking at about 30, 45 minutes ago. All right. Meanwhile, big morning this morning for DOTD as the College Drive exits off of I-10 and I-12 opening up. Rodney Mallett from DOTD is on the hotline. How are you, sir?
I'm doing very well this morning. How about you, Brian?
I am doing very well as well. So not quite the smooth 5 a.m. start, but y'all got it cleared up pretty quickly.
Well, much like LSU's baseball team, we ran into some weather issues during the evening, and it pushed it back almost an hour. But once they got rolling, it was done. I drove through there around 6-ish, and traffic seemed to be going well. And I did notice, even though traffic is light with the spring break and everything, there was no weaving, and that's kind of one of the reasons that that project was in the works, and why we think it's going to be very beneficial to the public. So I think it's going to be fine.
I feel like I'm hammering this College Drive flyover a lot more than I have any other transportation issue. Well, and the reason for it, Rodney, is because if you're on 12 westbound, you need a heads up. You got to think about exiting the college sooner than you used to. I'm trying to put myself in the mindset of the guy whose commute every day goes to College Drive, and this morning, tomorrow morning, Friday morning might get to College Drive and think, oh snap, I needed to exit a while ago. So it's reiterating the change is where my emphasis is. What is y'all's office doing to make sure that word is as widespread as can be?
Well, I don't know if you ever go to our social media on Facebook and Instagram and all the good stuff. Yeah, we've been putting out graphics and press releases, and anybody who signed up for My DOTD gets those notifications. And, you and I have become very good friends over the last several months talking about this. So, we've done as much as we could, we think, to put the word out. Also, this is important at all times, is we give people the information to drive safely with the speed limit, the signs, the striping, all of that. And so the signs are up there, the striping is there. It's just very important, and you make a very good point. I try to make this point when I talk about this project and others as well. When your driving pattern changes, if it is because of a work zone, this is Work Zone Awareness Month, if it's because of the weather, it's very foggy out there today, then you need to pay attention more than usual. If you pay attention, then you're going to notice the changes in your driving patterns. And so we think that's very important at all times, but especially when something like this is happening.
We've noted a couple of milestones in the College Drive flyover project along the way. How much is left on this particular project?
Well, this is the final configuration, and so they have about a month left of, there will be some, every now and then, sporadic nighttime closures to do some embankment work, some drainage work, and some permanent striping work. But it's really complete. This is the final configuration that you're going to see. Okay,
so it's just the odds and ends, the cleaning up before getting out of there, which kind of opens up the question of what's next. We got Rodney Mallett from DOTD with us. I got to ask about Piku Lane. It feels like this was moving along until it wasn't. Where are we at with the Piku Lane exit?
Oh, man, it's still moving along. The thing about Piku Lane, it started in 2017, but, we're working with the city on this project, and we're extending Riga Road, building a whole new Piku Lane, redoing that, adding extra lanes, building a new bridge, new railroad crossing, and you have the on and off ramps for 12 to PQ. So that's taken a while, but they're working on it, and it should be completed about this time next year. There's a lot of activity going on that one right now as they continue to build the northbound PQ lane, because they've done the south. They're still working on the northbound on the Wards Creek. They're going to be laying down the pavement for the on and off ramps here coming up real soon. So you're going to see a lot of that work. And one of the things about PQ that has been ongoing since the project started is the upgrade in the drainage. So there's been a lot of drainage work. They're still doing that. That project's going to have sidewalks along PQ. So there's a lot of work going on. There's still some more to do to get it ready for next year, but that's going to be a game changer as well. That is going to be a very good project for, I think, Airline and Segan and Highland and Perkins. You know what I mean?
Oh no! And every morning, Rodney, we talk about traffic coming in from Denham. Always seems to be heavier than coming in from Ascension Parish. That's because of the great work that was done widening 10 a while ago. The PQ lane exit is going to help alleviate traffic on our surface streets more so than on our interstates.
I totally agree. Yeah, and they need it, and we need it
Yes.
in that part of town. I drive over there quite a bit, and Segan Lane is, it's going to benefit greatly from PQ.
Last one before I get you out of here, and I appreciate you hopping on this morning. And that is, let's talk about the I-10 widening project. Give us just a quick overview of where we're at right now and what we expect over the next few months.
Well, right now we're continuing to widen over the westbound side over the City Park Lakes, and we're hoping to get that completed by the end of this year. And then we'll move on to the next phase of that project. It is a ever-changing project. We still hope to have it completed, I think within the next 5 years or so, depending on how things go. You know, we weather over a course of time like that is going to play a role, and then you never know what's going to happen. But we're looking at what we can do that will benefit the public when it's complete. So widening the City Park Lakes, especially with the on-ramp there at Perkins and off-ramp at Dalrymple, we feel like when we get that complete, we're going to see the benefits from that project. So the whole project will not be completed for quite some time, but the little phases that we do will aid greatly in the congestion.
He is Rodney Mallett from DOTD. College Drive exits from I-12 and I-10 are open now. Rodney, we appreciate the time this morning.
All right, take care. Good talking to you as always.
Likewise. We're at 7 o'clock. Here comes news. Oh, Debbie, I'm sorry. I had this closed out to check other notes. I need to get with Rodney about an Ask Rodney segment. I would like to once a month, accumulate questions and just dump them all on him all at once. Now I can't hit him with questions in real time because there's so many different things that DOT is working on that for him to be up to speed on everything would be virtually impossible. But if we were to post up on a Facebook post on Monday that said, "Do you have questions for DOTD? Post them here," and then have him on Wednesday or Thursday, then he could grab those questions and get proper answers. Because otherwise you're just, he's just going to give you some stumbling and double talk and PR speech. But when you give him time to go get an answer, he gets real answers. I mean, even if the answers aren't the ones we like, Rodney has been nothing but transparent. So, hey, Franz is in on vacation. I was giving Franz some hell on Facebook yesterday for was it on Facebook or was it in a text thread? You know what? Never mind. I think it was in a text thread, so I'm not going to make it public. Let's just say he's a fashionista. Got it. Did you get the email about the meeting today? Okay, you're going. Okay. What is due for all the guests? I don't know what that means. Due for all the guests. I don't know. That's what Debbie says. Not everybody gets advanced questions. No. When we have some of our regulars, we'll cover. When we have regular guests, I'll drop top. Like I know what I'm talking about with Congresswoman Letlow at 8:35 this morning. Because it's another area where, and I do the same thing with Troy Carter, is they're working on so many things all at once that I would rather get everyone information than get political speech. And I know Carter still tends to filibuster when he comes on here, but notes for Jill Dougherty. I forgot my sport. I forgot to bring a sport coat this morning. I was supposed to go to the state capitol after our programming meeting. And well, I don't need to be hobbling around anyway. I need to stay off of my knee. But I've got a guest who's going to be in studio. I really don't feel like taking the stairs with my knee. So if I wave to you, can you go down and get him? Thank you. 705 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Hour 2 coming your way right now. We are starting off your second hour at 71 degrees with some fog out there in downtown Baton Rouge. Brian here with you. John LaBeouf producing. Busy second hour coming your way this hour. How are the insurance bills looking 1 week into session? A week and a day into session. Tim Temple, our insurance commissioner, is going to join us in our next segment. Also, let's talk about the real life need for tort reform, for legal reform. Let's talk about the real life need for what the work that's going on, hopefully going on in the Capitol. Jessica Herring is the owner of Fina Automotive and Towing. They're up in Vernon Parish, but we're going to hear Jessica's story at 7:35. So looking forward to both of those conversations. Right now, though, before we get you to anything else, top stories and trending. Let's go.
Number 5.
Starts us off with an update from Entergy. We are now down to about 1,400 Entergy customers in Shenandoah without power at this time. About an hour or so ago, that number was closer to 5,000. So Entergy has been working on that. About an hour or so ago, that number also included a number of red lights going along Coursey It looks like we're down to a very, very short portion of Coursey at this point. Might still have a red light or two that is down, but most of what's left of the power outage in the Shenandoah area is residential. It's not one of your major thoroughfares, so we will continue to monitor it.
Number 4.
Yesterday was Southern University Day out at the state capitol. School leaders showed off the work, research, and innovations taking place at the school, asking state lawmakers to continue their support. Today, LSU Day. Tomorrow, LCTCS. And speaking of LCTCS, we got Quintin Taylor, Chancellor of River Parish Community College, coming up at 8:15.
Number 3.
The AC Lewis branch of the YMCA on South Foster Drive will officially reopen at their location, 350 South Foster. They will officially reopen Monday. This is following a $30 million investment into Mid-City. The property, though, the YMCA shares property with The Point in Mid-City, a brand new 4-story apartment complex with 100 units. And I got to tell you, looking at that thing, it looks like way more than 100 units. It is monstrous. It is gorgeous. By the way, while the YMCA will officially reopen Monday, current members get the sneak peek this week. I can tell you as a member, it is gorgeous.
Number 2.
Police are investigating the death of a homeless woman as a homicide after she was found decomposing in a boarded up apartment Monday morning. BRPD said 34-year-old Shaquinta Scott was found by a worker near a boarded up vacant apartment unit at a building on Monet Drive around 10 a.m. on Monday morning. BRPD is investigating.
Number 1.
2 people were injured in a shooting on Nicholson, officials said. 2500 block was where you would find the shooting. One person was taken to the hospital in stable condition. The other went to the hospital by themselves. No word on suspect or motives yet. All right, John, what you got?
All right. Well, before his funeral on Saturday, the body of Pope Francis will be on display for public viewing starting this morning.
So we got 4 days of viewing. Well, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then the funeral on Saturday. And then I believe conclave gets underway on Monday. And we can start talking about black smoke versus white smoke. And then we will eventually have a new pope. Man, well, the conversation we had yesterday with Dr. Pasquet from LSU, fascinating stuff.
Really fascinating.
The thought that it's a very real possibility that our next pope could be from the continent of Africa.
It's wild.
It's just as Eurocentric as it's been for 2,000 years. Just the branching out right now, it is kind of crazy. I'm leaning towards the idea that our next pope is going to be from somewhere in Europe. I feel like when you reach out, you got to pull back in a second before you start reaching out again. That's kind of what I'm ready for.
How soon do you think it'll be? How soon does it normally?
You know what? I don't know.
Yeah.
I honestly, I do not remember how long it took for them to get from Benedict to Francis. I don't remember how long it took to get from John Paul II to Benedict. Or, I know there's a couple of votes and you see the black smoke a couple times. And then when you see white smoke, there's cheers throughout St. Peter's Square. And I legitimately don't remember timelines.
All right. Well, we'll keep our eye on it for sure.
Mm-hmm.
President Donald Trump said that the 145% tariffs he imposed on Chinese imports will eventually come down substantially, as he expressed optimism about future talks to reach the U.S.-China trade deal.
Well, I sure as poop feel better.
Yeah.
Eventually. Okay. We do have to buy things today, though, right?
Yeah. So we got to get those Shein orders in, the Temus.
And, not all of those things. I know we joke about that as if it's just cheap stuff. Shout out to Deborah. Hang on. Average for picking a pope is 4 days in modern times.
Okay.
So,
hey, thanks.
I'll roll with that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Deborah. Appreciate that.
Nice.
Okay. I know we make fun of the discount websites like Shein and Temu and whatnot, but we use that for stuff that we need.
We shop there.
Yeah, for stuff that we need though. Yeah. Like the kids' clothes, literally the shoes I'm wearing.
Yeah.
Like it's not just junk. We're not spending our money on stupid stuff.
No, and I don't want us to come across that way.
No.
Get these orders in. But really, get the orders in. Not to say like
Shein and Temu are going up on their prices on the 25th.
Yep.
So
yes, they will.
Right.
Hey, today marks 20 years since the very first YouTube video was uploaded.
Oh, I meant to look this up.
Of what the first video was.
Yeah. Did you look it up?
I didn't. I didn't.
I just saw that Me at the Zoo is what it was called. The first video ever uploaded to YouTube was called Me at the Zoo.
Okay.
Posted by Jawed, 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 Jawed.
Jawed?
Because
it Jawed?
J-A, how would you pronounce Jawed?
Jawed?
What, like jaw?
Jawed.
But if it's the past tense of jaw, it would be jawed.
Jawed.
Right? But if it's Jared with a W, it's Jawed. All right. Anyway, Jawed Kareem on April 23rd, 2005. The video features Kareem at the San Diego Zoo in front of an elephant exhibit saying, "All right, so here we are in front of the elephants." It's a 19-second clip that has become a piece of internet history. What a letdown.
Right. You would think the first video, right? I mean, maybe you direct it on yourself. Like, hey, I'm coming to you live from wherever. But maybe you're not thinking that. Maybe
you're
just
the first ever video on there.
Right.
Well, here I am at the elephants.
Let me upload this. I know this is a bit of a letdown.
It's a bit of a letdown.
I mean,
all right. It's 7:13 to Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Before we take our first break of this hour, got to remind you about the folks over at Landmark Bank. LandmarkBankLA.com is the website. LandmarkBankLA.com. I send you there because they've got numerous branches, and I don't want to point you to one particular branch, although I will remind you they are on the west side of the river now. Bruley branch is open and has been open for a little bit now. The Bruley branch is technically in Port Allen. It's 4687 Highway 1 South. But you're going to find Landmark Bank in the surrounding areas, in the neighborhoods around Baton Rouge, because they are a community bank and have been for over 100 years. Your personal banking, personal lending, lending resources, they've got you covered at landmarkbankla.com. Your business banking, checking, savings, money markets, CDs, business loan, they've got you covered at landmarkbankla.com. You don't just want a bank, you want a banker. And when you have a community bank, that's exactly what you get. Someone you can talk to who knows your wants, needs, and desires, who knows where you're going, either in your personal life or in your business life. Check them out online, landmarkbankla.com. Quick break. Tim Temple's next. All right. Yeah, standing up. That sounds kind of badass, but if I tell you who was playing, it really diminishes quickly. No, it was just a matter of it wasn't the level of competition that got me. It was trying to make my knee do something that it can't. Okay, that's your limitation. Planting one way and going the other, and my knee was like, "No, you're not going." I basically Zion Williamson myself. That's probably the best way to make it sound. Oh, how are things at the Capitol? Mm-hmm. Are you and Jeff Landry going to fight? Like fist fight? Mm-hmm. I've been contemplating doing a bit on what would happen if y'all like actually fought. You get the reach, so you can't let him get inside. You just don't let him get inside. Don't do that. You don't want to go there?
You're not the first.
Okay. Look, I'll tell you where my money's going to. I got you in 3 rounds or less.
Street fighters.
He does do that gator hunt. I think yes. You can't let him get inside and grapple. Yeah. (716) Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. It was yesterday at this time when State Representative Dixon McMakin reminded us that there is such a heavy emphasis being put on insurance at the state capitol going on right now in the session. And it was a nice little reminder that maybe we won't need a special session for insurance. A lot of movement going on. We get to catch up with our insurance commissioner every so often, and we do that right now. Tim Temple's in with us. How are you, sir?
Hey, good morning, Brian.
I'm gonna bring this around this way. So.
There we go. Yeah, good morning. Another busy week. We were just saying last night, it seems like week 6 at the Capitol, and it's only starting week 2.
Okay, has it been moving that fast? Have you been getting that much? That much? How much can go on at once? I think that's the best way for me to ask the question.
Yeah, well, look, I think you're seeing that the legislature is moving extremely quickly. They started hearing bills, day 2 after opening session.
Right.
So all focused. There's a lot of focus on insurance reform, as we all know. We need focus on insurance reform, and we're certainly getting the committee hearing times for sure.
Are we rowing in the same direction? Does there seem to be not necessarily consensus, but enough movement behind the right bills to make sure that the package is advancing?
Look, a lot of things are moving on the House side already, and a few on the Senate too. But I mean, the focus has been on the House. Yesterday in civil law, there were over half a dozen bills. I think maybe 8 bills that came out with and I need to say that with token opposition. These are insurance, for the most part, insurance reforms bills trying to address legal reform. And, I think one red card against these on most of the bills. So, you got to ask yourself the questions, is this being set up for, the big showdown over in the Senate in Senate Judiciary A, which we know last year, where a lot of the bills went and died.
It died. And that's not unique. Things go to Jude A to die.
They do.
Is there a way to either make Jude A better or have them go somewhere else?
Well, look, I think right now it's representative government. You've got, people that they were sent there by their districts for whatever their focus is for that district. And what we're hearing overwhelmingly is they want insurance reform. So I think if people vote their districts, vote good bills, kill bad bills, then we'll be okay. But this is the legislative process, and it doesn't always go the way you think you want it to. But look, we're giving it a good fight. Like I said, the attention and focus, not just here at the Capitol, but around the state. People are actively engaged in what's going on at the Capitol, and I think that's a good thing.
A few years ago, when we started talking tort reform, I want to say back in 2019, 2020. It was before you were elected, but there was a definite insurance versus lawyer mentality. I feel like that mentality has lessened a little bit, and I don't know if y'all are fully listening to each other yet, but it's not where it was at a fever pitch of a fight before. How would you describe the back and forth when it comes to both sides?
Well, I think people are now starting to realize that, look, it's easy to be angry at your insurance company, and it's easy to fault the advertising attorneys because you see them all the time and all that, right? So it's been easy to kind of make the distinguishment between those two,
Right.
Now that we've had, and I want to give credit to the House and Senate last year when they started having these hearings that we did starting last January, talking about the cost drivers. Why is insurance so expensive in our state? Why does it cost more? Why does a claim cost more to either settle or pay in the state of Louisiana versus other states? Cost drivers. What makes that cost so expensive? Now that we're starting to talk about that, and more people realize they're not as angry at the insurance companies, even though, look, I get it. People have bad claims experiences. So let's not diminish from that. But the fact that they realize that insurance companies are paying claims unnecessarily, the fender benders, the ones we heard the lady on who did LPB, her $47,000, her foot slipped off the brake at a stoplight. She rolled into the car in front of her. Her insurance company paid $47,000. People used to be upset at the company because they paid $47,000. Now they are starting to understand why the company has to pay $47,000 because they can't defend themselves in court.
Right.
They can't bring the information that they need to defend you, the driver, and not pay that claim. So there's less impetus on the insurance companies. Although, look, I'm not giving them a free pass.
No.
Right. But people are starting to understand where the dollars are going. And I think we've been saying that on your program for a long time. Follow the money and see who's making the money.
Twice as many medical claims.
Twice as many.
That coming from the governor's press conference.
That's
twice
right.
as many
Look,
medical
and
claims.
look, the governor and I agree on. There's a lot of things we agree upon. We agree upon the fact that we don't have a frequency problem on accidents.
Right.
We agree that it's not the cost to repair the vehicles.
Mhm.
We agree that we have twice the bodily injury claims.
Right.
We agree that we have twice the litigation rates.
Yes.
So, I mean, let's focus on why that is.
Right.
And
And
let's fix it.
the problem isn't uninsured drivers either.
It's not. It's a contributing problem. It's
But
it
not
contributes,
overall.
but is not a major driver. And look, we've got legislation that's going to address uninsured motorists. No play, no pay. There's some bills out there with illegal illegal immigrants driving and things like that. All of these things can help add, but they're not major contributors. So we got again, if we focus on things that truly, and again, I got to come up with something better than move the needle. I use it. I hear everybody else use it. I'm worn out on moving the needle, but we've got to do things that actually make a difference.
What can make a difference on the medical claims, on the injury claims? Because our frequency of injury claims. Look, this is the governor had a press conference just for the session. This was the chart he used, and I'm showing you that right now. And that big yellow line at the bottom, which was on our Facebook page a while ago. But that big yellow line at the bottom is your frequency of injury claims, us versus the rest of the nation. What can actually be done there?
Yeah, well, look, there's a couple of good bills last week that got out of the House. Should be coming to the House floor hopefully soon. Modified comparative fault, and that's one that most people, when you tell them, you explain if you are responsible for creating the accident more than 51% at fault.
Yes,
then you don't get to recover. If it's your fault, then you shouldn't be able to sue somebody else for that.
Right.
Modified comparative fault makes sense to everybody I talk to.
Yes.
Medical transparency. We've been talking about that. It's been referred to for years as collateral source because that's the legal doctrine behind it. But it's medical transparency. You collect what your healthcare provider billed you. I'm sorry, what they paid, not what they billed you.
Right.
Big difference in those numbers.
I still don't understand why. Like, how did we get to the point of where you could have two numbers like that? Is it because of separate insurance claims, or it's a separate ball game?
I don't know. And look, there are other states that allow very different variations of that.
Yeah.
But I think we've just taken it to an extreme here in Louisiana.
When I get a bill from a hospital, I've never looked at it as a negotiating ploy. Like, okay, that's your first offer. That's not the way it works.
Well, we in Louisiana, we get creative down here.
I understand.
There's a no pay bill.
Mhm.
Again, like I said, if you don't, law requires you to carry auto insurance. You're driving around and you don't have it and you get in a wreck, you shouldn't be able to recover.
Right.
Everybody else is being financially responsible and you choose not to, but yet you can recover these large amounts. That's not right. So there's some bills going, working through the system. But Brian, and look, numbers are important and they help tell a narrative. And we started looking at bodily injury claims filed by state. And I've got a report, and it's through the NAIC, National Association of Insurance Commissioners, and it shows over a 10-year period, but the most recent year being 2021, Louisiana had 66,000 bodily injury claims filed. Okay, just could be a big number, could be a bad number. You got to put it in context. Here's the context: we have 4.5 million citizens in the state. So let's compare us to Alabama.
Okay,
5 million citizens in their state. They had 34,000 bodily injury claims.
Okay,
let's compare us to New York. 5 times the population, 19 million people. They had 60,000 bodily injury claims, 6,000 less than we do. So we have a problem in this state. We've got to address it. And look, I've started saying this too, because a lot of people, look, there's stories and positions on every side, and people, you can't take away people's rights to litigate and all that, and that's not what we're trying to do. But I think we need to acknowledge that if that's the system that we want to live in, if we want to allow people to claim bodily injuries for dang near anything,
right,
then we're going to pay for it. There's a cost for that freedom, if you will. If we want to be able to litigate for anything and claim bodily injuries for every broken fingernail, we as citizens are going to pay for that system. And we're currently paying for that type of system.
Medical transparency would go a long way on that front. However, I don't think it wouldn't completely close it out. It's the jackpot justice that we have. the idea that we look forward to the slip and fall, like the idea that that's cashing a check. How do we get to the bottom of that rabbit hole?
Well, I mean, it's a business model, and again, because the current laws encourage and promote it, so we need to bend that. We need to change that, and also we need to start messaging that that's again, if that's what we want, if that's the environment we want to live in, then that's the premiums that we need to be expected to pay. If we don't want that, we don't want to be paying the highest auto rates in the country, then we need to modify our own behavior as well as, the system that allows that type of action to take place.
I'm kind of walking us up to Kim Carver's bill about advertising.
Okay.
Because that to me, that will go a long way. If you can modify the advertising, and I don't want to limit free speech, but I do want full disclosure in the advertising.
Yeah.
And I don't, if you're holding a big check that looks like you just won the Price is Right, I want to know, you want medical transparency? I want billing transparency as well, to say, like, if I'm holding up a $500,000 check, how much am I actually taking home? Because to me, there's honesty in that.
And is the person holding up that $500,000 check the person that took home that $500,000 check?
Right.
I mean, you've got all these, paid actors, and look, I tend to think that the people that receive these bigger settlements, and there's ones that are certainly earned and just, but the people they're not the ones that are smiling and jumping and down. I see all the time these people start sending me these, whenever verdicts come in, and it will be like the claimant and their attorney firm, their team, and all of the attorneys are all smiling. And then you've got the claimant that's sitting in a wheelchair or whatever. Right. They're not smiling, right? But yet on TV, you see it's all happy smiles and faces, and and so I think that we need to have more transparency in that. Kim Carver's bill, I like the intent of it, but I saw an article yesterday that it's already saying that they don't think it's going to be, well,
that's because they asked a lawyer about a lawyer's advertising. I've actually got that written down to talk about later on in the show.
Yeah. And again, I don't know if it's going to be, if it passes legal muster or not, but it is a good, valiant effort. We need to have the discussion. We need to start it. It's not certainly a reason not to do it.
Look, if the side of a cigarette package can tell you that product potentially causes cancer, then it should be included that check in the commercial might not be the amount you actually take home.
And there are states.
How about results may vary? Can we include that?
And I think they actually put that on some of those advertisements. But no, and I know there are some states that do like I call it a waterfall. It shows the amount awarded, and then how much the claimant got, how much the breakout.
Yeah.
Who took home what? So we need more of that for sure.
Well, we also need is more of you here in studio along the way. I know we generally try to keep up every month, but there's so much. We didn't even talk about homeowners. We didn't talk about anything else.
No, and look, we've got some good bills moving on that. We just real quick, we got one bill. We're going to extend the period that insurance companies have to notify you if they're going to non-renew your home. We want you to have more time for that.
Yeah.
Why they're non-renewing, some transparency on where the money goes when you pay your premium, what the breakout is, what goes to, everything, expenses, taxes, profits, losses. So we're trying to bring more transparency for the consumer so that they know how they're being treated by the insurance companies, and again, hold them accountable as well.
Well, then let's do a follow-up less than 2 weeks from now. I'll get with you offline, but we want to make sure that we're up to speed on all of it as it moves forward. He is Insurance Commissioner Tim Temple. We always appreciate the time, sir.
Thank you.
7:30, here comes news. you, Tim. Time to get a look at your forecast. Here is WBRZ meteorologist Emma Kate Cowan. Hey, Jessica. Hey, this is Brian. We're going to be on in just a second here. Lana gave me who my guest was and what you do, but I got no talking points. So I'm going to start it very open-ended and just have you tell your story, and then we'll just have a conversation from there, okay? Good deal. Thanks. Now stupid instrumental version. 738 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Let's keep things moving on the insurance front. And I want to welcome in our next guest. She is from Vernon Parish. She is Jessica Herring, the owner of Fina Automotive and Towing. Jessica, welcome to Talk 107.3. How are you?
I'm well, Brian. How are you?
I am doing very well as well. By the way, Insurance Commissioner Tim Temple, he said to tell you hello. Apparently, y'all have crossed paths a few times in the past.
We have crossed paths a few times.
So a big part of this insurance discussion going on at the Capitol needs to involve how it trickles down to everyday folk, to you and me. So I want to start this very open-ended and just have you tell your story.
So this kind of all started, I guess, post-pandemic. But pre-pandemic, it's important to note how affordable the insurance was for our tow truck company. And most big truck companies are regulated. They tell us how much insurance we have to have.
Mm-hmm.
And we're regulated doubly, one by the state police who tells us how much insurance we're supposed to have on our tow trucks. But then we're also regulated on what we can charge by the Louisiana Public Service Commission. So we're kind of in a box here, So in 2018, our insurance coverage was $3,800 for one wrecker for 1 year. And by the time we've creeped up to 2024, it's the same coverage, the same driver, the same vehicle. There's nothing changed, no claims, clean driving history, and we're at nearly $14,000. So it's and I think it's important to
Wait,
note.
I'm sorry, Jessica. I'm gonna step in real quick. When was the 3,800?
2018.
2018 to 2024. So over the course of 6 years, you saw this number quadruple.
That's correct. We have a quadruple in the insurance rate itself, and a very little increase on what we can charge. But I'm really not worried about what we're charging. I'm worried about what we're being charged for insurance.
Right.
The what we're charging is irrelevant because I don't even know if they could make it non-consensual tows affordable to anybody that got their vehicle towed. And it's like this vicious cycle, and we're just in this position where at this current rate we are being charged 25% of our tow truck income for insurance alone. So it costs me $34 in insurance to answer a wrecker call today, just to take the call.
I mean, and okay, so let's go to the charging side though, because like you said, y'all have a ceiling put on you by the Public Service Commission, and while that's not the part you're worried about, it is still a part of the equation.
It is a large factor in the equation because generally when businesses deal with inflation, we adjust the rates accordingly.
Mm-hmm.
You buy a gallon of milk at wholesale at $2. Well, if you have to start buying the gallon of milk at wholesale at $3, obviously the customer is going to take, they're going to have to increase what they pay for it as well.
Right.
But in this particular instance, we don't have a leg to stand on because we're regulated by how much we charge on non-consensual tows.
Wow.
So we're really in a pickle. And luckily we have, a couple of small businesses, but we do have guys that this is what they do and they work hard. They work all hours of the night. You know, they're on tow calls 2 and 3 hours, and this is their sole source of income. And you know, blue collar people are really getting gut punched right now.
We're talking with Jessica Herring from Fina Automotive and Fina Towing about just basically how constrictive our current insurance climate is when it comes to doing business. So how do you adjust, Jessica, without the help of the legislature? Just in a world where things are what they are right now, how do you adjust? Do you limit calls that you take, or I mean, because that, to me, that would be counterintuitive as well.
You can't really limit the calls that you take, because then that actually takes out of what you're saving to pay for insurance. For instance, prior to 2024, I was employed at another company. I had my own job. I was actually in radio here in Vernon Parish, and I had to leave. I had to leave to come here so he could be in the tow truck more. And I mean, it literally has altered our life, but because it's, you know, we're just getting beat over the head. And it's not just us, it's all of us. One of our fellow tow truck drivers got a renewal quote recently, just this week, for $31,000 for 2 records. You know, and that is almost 50% of the record income for this area. And I don't know how people are adjusting, you know, and if ours goes up, I don't know how we're going to adjust. That's the scary part, is that we've adjusted and adjusted and adjusted, and we've reached, you know, you can only let the belt strap out so far. There's only so many notches.
No, absolutely. 31,000 for 2 records. I know I'm doing quick math in my head, but that's 15.5 per, which is 1,500 over what you just said you got quoted in 2024.
That's correct. That's correct. And it's gradually gone up and up. There's less and less companies that are willing to insure us.
You and I have different definitions of the word gradually, Jessica. That's not gradual. That is steep.
It is a steep, you know, well, at first it seemed like, okay, well, you know, this is, you know, it's just, it kind of felt like a pandemic sort of thing.
Right.
You know, and then it just kept going up, and it's like, okay, well, where's the ceiling, and when do we get relief? You know, there's no relief in sight. And I speak for all of us in Vernon Parish. I don't know what we're going to do, you know, and somebody has to ring the bell, and I don't mind being that person, but it's like, hey, we've taken all we can take,
right?
You know, and a lot of people don't consider that, but you know, what do y'all do if you got a 4-car crash on I-10? God forbid that ever happen. I don't want that to happen. But you've got an interstate shut down, and there's nobody that can afford insurance to come remove the cars from the travel lane.
You brought up a part of this conversation that we need to have, and that is fewer and fewer insurance companies willing to insure you.
That's correct.
How close or how narrow is that window right now? How because look,
to my knowledge, there is maybe 3 that will insure us right now.
All right, and if you've got 3, then there's no room for them to compete against each other. They don't have to.
That's correct. It's literally a shakedown at this point.
Yeah, I'm thinking about the price of eggs over the last year. You know, how we've seen them go up and go up and go up. And if I go to breakfast at, let's say, Zealand Street Market, Miss Stephanie can go up on the price of an omelet because the price of eggs go up. She doesn't have to answer to the PSC about that, right?
That's correct.
This is why this equation has gotten completely out of whack. So let's move things over to the legislative session if we could. And we're talking with Jessica Herring from Fina Automotive and Fina Towing. Let's move things over to the legislative session. Are there legislators and or individual bills that really have your attention in this session? And if so, what are they? You don't have to know number. I'll find them.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't remember the number, but I know that there is one that was going through for a cap on the medical claims, which is a huge deal. I actually didn't know the number until yesterday. The representative for Met gave a number. And the whole state of New York had less liability claims with, 5 times the population than the state of Louisiana did.
Interestingly enough, Tim Temple just broke that number down in the segment before yours.
Yeah. So, I mean, and I'm not here to bash on attorneys. But and this is a fact, you can research it. There was an article on a website in the New Orleans area where Gordon McKernan and Morris Bart said that their advertising dollar that they spend per year is $20 to $25 million per year. And that was their numbers, not mine.
Per year
Annually for advertising alone. And I'm just wondering, in what world does that seem like, we don't have maybe an issue in that area?
So the tough part there, Jessica, is walking the line between how much is too much versus where are you limiting the First Amendment? Where are you limiting speech on the back end of that? And I honestly don't know the answer there.
Well, and the thing is Representative Owen said yesterday, you can't be mad at the attorneys because I'm not going to be mad at a bear for eating a tied up goat. So you can't be upset with them for doing their job, and they get a lot of hate, but they're doing their job, and when you need an attorney, they're an asset to have.
Oh, 100%.
So it's like I don't want to bash them. I know for a fact as a record driver, before I'm returning to my facility to unload the car off of the wrecker, I'm having attorneys call me before I'm even unloading the car.
Let's talk about the overall climate, because this is something you've dealt with for a while. Are you feeling that there's a change in the winds, if you will? Are you feeling that your grievances are being heard a little louder at the state capitol right now?
I do, and I do have to credit everybody that's listened to me fuss. They have been understanding, and I have not met any sort of opposition or anybody saying, no, there's nothing we can do. I think they do realize that it's an issue. My state representative is Charles Owen, and he's been very open-eared and open-minded about it. He has listened to everything I've said.
Mm-hmm.
I've called multiple times, and I've been able to say, hey, I'm at the end of my rope. What do we do? And they've been more than understanding. Mr. Ferment has been very kind. Mr. Temple as well. They've all listened, and they know that it's a real issue.
Tell you what, let's get you back on towards the end of the session when we see what kind of progress has been made along the way. In the meanwhile, to go from 3,800 per wrecker per year in 2018 to now 15,500 with the latest numbers in 2025. I mean, if that doesn't really tell the story of the burden, the albatross around the neck of the small business owner, I don't know what will.
I don't know how you could make it any clearer with those numbers, and it's very burdening. That's the kind of thing that keeps you up, and to further it, and I'm going to hate on the insurance companies here for a minute. We have a clean driving record. We've never had a claim.
Right.
We have good credit. We have all of the things that would deem us as a low risk company. However, if you don't have the money up front, which a lot of people don't,
right.
And if I hadn't have had that up front, then they charge me like $2,000 extra to pay it monthly. That's tacked into their fees just to be able to afford to pay it monthly.
Well, and also with insurance, I mean, there's the pool mentality as well, as you're kind of paying for the sins of others too.
Right, and that's kind of where I disagree with the insurance companies.
Yeah.
If you're telling me I'm a low risk and we've done everything that we can do to be a low risk, even further so, we had to this year, for the first time, install a dash camera in our wrecker in order to be insurable.
And it is quite the battle. I appreciate you sharing your story, and like I said, we'll get you back on towards the end of the session to see what kind of updates we've got. In the meanwhile, Jessica Herring, thank you for a couple minutes this morning.
Thank you so much, Brian.
Absolutely. And we're at 750 at Talk 107.3 FM. I do want to reiterate, though, and Jessica made a good point. We don't want to vilify attorneys. Y'all see all the good work Gordon McKernan. So I'm a single Gordon McKernan out. You see the good work he does in the community with the bicycles around Christmas time and the laptops and the NIL helping out the athletes. I mean, this isn't about that. It's about the bottom line. I mean, this is ridiculous. I need more real world stories. That's fucking awesome. The feedback I'm getting, like, okay, this is the mantra of the show: is what happens in that building means something. Yeah. Okay. You got cuts 4, 5, and 6 for me? Thank you. You say he'll be here at 8? $7:55 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Instant feedback is Jessica's a rock star. Wow, a lot of response already to that last segment, because it does. It's bad radio to talk math. Okay, that's just one of the rules that we have, right? But when the numbers are that stark and they punch you right in the nose. Something you were paying $3,800 for 7 years ago, you're now paying $15,500. That's a ridiculous number. She told her story well. I look forward to talking with her again. I look forward to hearing other similar conversations as well. We're going to get into one of the bills that's hopefully combating jackpot justice in just a second, but I do need to remind you about the folks over at Vex European. Vinny and his team over there in the backside of Industrialplex on Benefit Drive. You check them out online at vexeuropean.com. V as in Vinny. Been at this for over a decade now, serving European-made vehicles, BMW, Mercedes, Jaguar, Land Rover, Porsche, Audi. Go to vexeuropean.com, hit the drop-down tab where it says vehicles. You'll find the full list right there. When you make the investment to buy a European vehicle, you're looking for performance and longevity. You get the most out of both when you use Vex European. I use them. In fact, I'll be over there later on this week. VexEuropean.com. So one of the bills that is one of the bills that's going to be coming up, we've talked about it before. We talked about it with State Representative Kim Carver. He's a Republican from Mandeville. He's got a rule to tighten the rules on personal injury attorney advertising. Governor Landry's in favor of this. Says it will reduce frivolous lawsuits and lower insurance costs. LSU media law professor Will Mary argues, and he talked with our news partners at Louisiana Radio Network, argued that the U.S. Supreme Court has already ruled in on previous efforts to do this.
Back in 1977, they said basically Louisiana could do only so much when it came to trying to keep a lid on some of these kinds of ads, because even commercial speech does have First Amendment protection.
Mari notes that Louisiana already enforces stricter advertising rules that many Louisiana also already has stricter rules than many states, and says HB 430 is largely redundant.
It's already fairly tough in Louisiana to advertise with our existing rules. You may not think so when you see Gordon McKiernan signs and Morris Bart signs on Texas on the way to Louisiana, like 400 miles away.
We're going to talk about signs here, though. We're talking about a TV commercial. And I don't know that we're necessarily talking about restricting speech as much as making sure there is, I referenced it with Tim Temple, and I was half joking and half not. But that Surgeon General's warning. If someone's holding up a check for a certain amount, and then the lawyer's got to back their take out of that amount, are we very clear on who's going home with what? I don't want to limit any of his speech. In fact, I want to expand it and add a sentence or two. The bill also prohibits the use of slogans. I'm not on board with that. Mari says the slogan thing's a red herring, says it would be like restricting restaurants from using catchphrases.
Everything from Popeyes to your local mom and pop place. You could try to restrict that kind of speech, but it would be kind of unnecessary and hard to justify.
100%. On that front, 100%. On the rest of it, I'm looking for, read 430 on your own. And I know you're not going to, but it is going to help. In fact, go back and listen when Kim Carver was on with us on day one of the legislative session, and you'll get the vibe. You'll understand it's not restricting. It's just making sure that we're fully informed, that there's full disclosure. Hour 3 is next. Brett! Do what? I'm good, Rich. I'm good. You want a Dr. Pepper? Dude, I've been loaded up. I got on the shelf. Hell with this. I've been in this business too long. I'm too good. I'm eating whatever I want. Hey, dude. You know what I got to do? First thing Monday morning. Like they were already about to run some stuff. Brett, hey, I didn't get it for Friday. No, no worries. Yeah, my guy sent me a message. What? If John F. Kennedy and David Caruso were born on the same day, you don't lead with David Caruso. .806 Talk 107.3 FM mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Hour 3 coming your way right now. Brian here with you. John LaBeouf producing. We got a busy hour this hour. We've got Quintin Taylor coming in our next segment. Quintin Taylor is the chancellor of River Parishes Community College. This is a conversation I've been wanting to have since the Hyundai announcement a couple weeks ago. Trained workforce is going to be important on this front. River Parishes Community College is right there in Ascension Parish, and he's the guy to talk to about it. And as I understand it, Quintin was quite pivotal in making sure this deal got done. So we're going to talk with him at 8:15, 8:35. We've got Congresswoman Julia Letlow, a little segment we call DC Current, presented by LABI. I want to talk about the budget. I want to actually, you know what? Congresswoman Letlow met the Pope not long ago. So want to talk about, obviously, have her share her story on that front. But I also want to talk about river flooding. And a good chunk of her district has the Mississippi River running down it. And a good chunk of her district does not necessarily have the same levee system that we do in Baton Rouge. So we'll talk about all the things with Congresswoman Julia Letlow coming up at 8:35. Before we get into this day in history, I do need to make one more reference to power outages. Now, it looks like Shenandoah is back up and running. However, Concord Estates, it might not be. I'm looking at the Entergy outage map, and as I zoom in, I'm seeing that Concord Estates is now down. So, nope, you know what? They might have just gone back on. Yep, all right, they're back on now. Never mind. Entergy obviously been working hard throughout the morning when it comes to power outages. We had about 5,000 in the Shenandoah area that were down earlier this morning. And then with the Concord Estates, that one was within the top of the hour. So it looks like we're all good now. All right, I'll hit that all clear button. Time for this day in history. Mm-hmm.
All right. Starting us off in 1789, President-elect George Washington moves into Franklin House, New York, the first official residence
Does he now?
of a U.S. president.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Hey, 1969, Saran sentenced to death for killing U.S. Senator Robert F. Kennedy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, okay, so it was later commuted to a life sentence. So he's sentenced to death and then later commuted to a life sentence? I guess. I don't know. Yeah.
It's amazing. There's like 18 different pronunciations of his name.
How do you pronounce
Sirhan?
it? Sirhan?
Yeah.
Sirhan.
It's all over the map. Hey, on this day in 1914,
what?
Wrigley Field hosted its first Major League Baseball game.
Ooh, nice.
Mm-hmm.
1972, Apollo 16 astronauts explore the moon's surface.
Wait, say that again?
1972, Apollo 16 astronauts explore the moon's surface.
Yeah. Okay.
1972 got closer to the moon than Katy Perry did in 2025.
You know what?
What?
1045 is closer to the moon than Katy Perry at this point.
Hey, 1985, new Coke debuts. Coca-Cola announced it is changing its secret flavor formula. What was this about? Were they taking the cocaine out?
No.
What was
cocaine came out a long time ago.
This
was they moved from their Coca-Cola Classic or the original Coke. They had new Coke. It was out for I don't know what, like 3 weeks before everybody was like, "Oh, this is awful." Yes. And then that's how Coca-Cola Classic became. Because Coca-Cola Classic is merely Coca-Cola, just the original recipe. They went back to it, making it therefore classic.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
McDonald's, speaking of openings or debuts here, 1992, McDonald's opens its first fast food restaurant in China.
Okay.
China. 1995, President Clinton declares a national day of mourning for Oklahoma City.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. And of course, 2005, as we mentioned earlier, YouTube's co-founder, Jawad Karim, uploads the first video to YouTube, Meet Me at the Zoo, showing him in front of 2 elephants at the San Diego Zoo. Has over 311 million views.
I mean, look at...
And he's the co-founder. Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you introduce people, hey, guys, this is YouTube. This is a new platform.
That's what I'm saying. Like, why was that
I didn't realize it was the co-founder.
Co-founder, and it was the first video ever posted to YouTube. And it's like, hey, I'm by the elephants. Doop, doop, doop. Like, I don't...
We're not impressed.
No.
Jawad.
Jawed. Birthdays?
Anything else? Oh, birthdays.
Oh, no, wait.
Okay, everybody
on
just
this
calm
day
down.
in 2020, with the first pick in the NFL draft, the Cincinnati Bengals select Joe Burrow, quarterback at Louisiana State University.
Yeah, big deal.
Yeah.
Big deal for sure. Birthdays here. What we got? John Cena today. John Cena.
I didn't see that.
Couldn't
I couldn't see that.
see. Roy Orbison.
Okay.
Speaking of someone who couldn't see, look at this guy's glasses. Wow.
Yeah.
It's one heck of a prescription there. Anyway, George Lopez today.
Keep going.
Cal Penn.
Huh? Who?
Cal. Come on. Howard and Kumar.
Oh, yeah. It's keep going.
Who am I missing? Oh my gosh. The suspense is killing me.
President James Buchanan.
Oh, yeah. He was next.
Yeah. Born in this day in 1791. Actress Shirley Temple. Born in this day in 1928.
Oh.
Yeah. Cal Penn.
Come on, man.
At least you didn't hit up Michael Moore yet.
He was my next. He was
All right.
Moving on to deaths? Or you got some more birthdays?
No, that was it for my birthdays.
Okay. As far as deaths go, William Shakespeare today.
Yep.
So Shakespeare and William Wordsworth. Sorry. How you doing?
James Earl Ray, assassin James Earl Ray died on this day in 1988. Boris Yeltsin died on this day in 2007. And I had one more, and I'm not going to find it now. So we're just going to move on.
Got Cesar Chavez.
Yeah, that was it.
Okay.
All right, national days today.
Army Reserve birthday.
We'll take that and run. It's 8:13. It's Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Quick break. When we come back, let's talk about being job ready for Hyundai. Quintin Taylor joins us next. What you say, sir? How are you? Come on in. Yes. Right here. Doing well. Well, tomorrow I thought was LCTCS day.
So it is, but today is House Education. We got a couple of bills that we're following.
Gotcha.
Be down
So
there.
you have real business to tend to, not just
the frou-frou stuff.
All right.
Yeah, not just the frou-frou.
But you need to come back to the frou-frou stuff too, though.
Oh yeah. Well, but thank you. But there's frou-frou tonight. There's an LCTCS reception tonight at 5. Where at? At the barracks.
Why is it not on my calendar?
I don't know. Well, I believe it's tonight, Brian. Maybe it's tomorrow night. Let me, because I do know tomorrow is our day in the Rotunda.
Yes, I know y'all are in the Rotunda tomorrow.
We're in the Rotunda tomorrow.
LSU's in the Rotunda today.
And so maybe I missed. Let's see.
Oh, is it Dr. Quintin Taylor?
No, just
Okay.
Quintin
Make
Taylor.
sure.
Yep.
I don't.
No, I'm working on that. So I've got on my calendar for today at 5. At the barracks. Well, specifically Lieutenant Governor's apartment. For 5.
So okay, I got the Plaquemines Parish Legislative Reception is in the courtyard. All right, well, shit, I might just crash.
Come through, brother.
Yep. I got y'all's luncheon tomorrow at the house patio.
Yes.
But I'm gonna be somewhere else. I got meeting with Congressman Carter's press people.
Ooh, I like that intro. Yeah, thank you. Who picked that? You did, John? You just took it is Jay-Z. It is feeling it.
Talk 107.3 in the Baton Rouge Clinic bring you the 2025 Dreams Come True Radiothon. Dreams Come True is an organization designed to help grant dreams for children with life-threatening illnesses and their families. The following local businesses have also pledged to match your donations throughout the month: Lewis Mechanical, Patient Plus, Action Industries, plus Subaru of Baton Rouge, Service Chevrolet, Luba, and Duplessis Pool Builders. Visit talk1073.com to help us reach our goal, and together we can help make dreams come true. All right, it was a couple weeks ago that Hyundai announced they were bringing a big project, a huge project, to Ascension Parish. And as that announcement was coming down, we had a number of conversations about it here on this show. And literally everyone I talked to said, you know who you need to talk to? You need to talk to Quintin Taylor with RPCC. because they were a major player in this. So I said, okay, let's do that. Quintin Taylor's in studio right now. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great, Brian. Thanks for having me this
No,
morning.
glad to have you on here. Glad to be talking about this.
Absolutely.
Let's start with River Parishes Community College. How did y'all get so involved in the Hyundai announcement and the Hyundai deal?
Yeah, so a great question, but I've got to give props to the production staff here. That intro of Jay-Z feeling, it took me back to like 1990 something when I was in college. And so I think it's a good segue, right? Because we're feeling workforce development, we're feeling economic development here in Louisiana, specifically the River region and the capital area.
Segue that would put me to shame. Well done. Well done.
Was that good?
I love that.
Well, little known fact, I was once a radio disc jockey.
See,
in college.
Yeah, and then decided you wanted to make money instead. That's
something. Well, listen, I'm not making a whole lot more. I mean, but that's
a
different conversation for a different
day,
day.
Right?
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Okay. The involvement in Hyundai. This was and seriously, like literally everybody I've talked to has said, RPCC and Quintin played a major role in the announcement, and will be playing one of the biggest roles moving forward to make sure we're workforce ready. So back us up and let's talk a little bit about how y'all got involved in the first place.
Sure. So I don't want to overstate it, right? I mean, a lot of effort went into getting this project to the finish line, and it all starts with our leadership at the governor's mansion on the 4th floor, Governor Landry and his team, and Secretary Bourgeois over at LED, Louisiana Economic Development, and her team, right? So it starts there, and that's really where all the credit goes. And then as they were, the company went to their site selection and trying to determine where would they bring this low carbon steel facility, they met at a couple of different places. Louisiana made it to the final round. And at that point, the state brought us to the table. We met with them, man, I want to say maybe back in February or March of last year, Brian.
Okay.
They came and spent an entire day on campus. They had a chance to tour the facilities. And we just talked about workforce development. We talked about specifically training, right? Because we know that there's training that we do today that they're going to need in this facility. But the great unknown is their intellectual property, right? What does that look like? What is the customizable training that's going to need to be done to do it, in air quotes, the Hyundai way, right? And so we had those conversations well over a year ago, and it just progressed. And, a couple of different delegations made trips over to Seoul, Korea, and came back. And I think maybe a month ago, we got word that this thing was going to happen. And just really, really excited about it. Really excited to represent River Parishes Community College and our Louisiana Community and Technical College system, collection of 12 colleges throughout Louisiana. And our PCC just happens to be in the right place at the right time with the right leadership, humble brag, to help us make sure that we're prepared and ready to train the individuals that Hyundai still is going to need moving forward.
Customizable is the word that sticks out to me the most right there, because if you would think we've got our River Parishes Community College. You've got your curriculum. Each class has its syllabus. How customizable is it? How are y'all able to adapt, shift on the fly to make sure what you're teaching is what they're needing?
Well, the good news is it's in our DNA, right? I mean, so we've been doing this now as a system for about 25, 26 years of customizable training. Brian's Floral Shop, just making up something on the fly, comes in and says, we need somebody who really has a green thumb, horticulture, the whole deal, but we have this specific training that we need that person to know. Our team sits down with Brian and Brian's team, and we figure out what does that look like, and then we build it together, and then we have the final product and implementation and such. So customizable training isn't new to us. Again, it's something that we've been doing now for well over 26, 27 years as a system, and in some pockets across the state, some of our colleges have been around for quite longer than that. So it's nothing new to us, but it really does vary by industry and vary by company what they need specifically.
How do you weigh the balance between providing the overall education versus that customizable portion of this? Because I don't think your curriculum, you're not going to take away from everything they're learning to make sure that just Hyundai is served. But at the same time, though, when the student enters your campus, you need to make sure that it's not just the education they have, it's the being ready for life. And if there's jobs here, then you're serving them as well. How does that balance work?
Absolutely. So that's all a part of our curriculum development,
Mhm.
right? So we want to make sure I think to answer your question, we want to make sure that the technical skills are embedded in what the client is looking for.
Right.
But more than anything, industry wants a skilled person, but they also want a well-rounded person who can come with those soft skills. So we try to embed all the different skill sets that Hyundai or any other company that we do business with, that they're requesting of us to instill into the students that we're producing for them.
What are the skill sets they're looking for? Let's talk Hyundai specifically. What are the skill sets they're looking for?
Well, first and foremost, they want individuals who have the work ethic, right? That I think a lot of us grew up as we were growing up in, right? So on time is late. Communication skills, right?
I hate that. I have hated that phrase since high school so much.
Well, listen,
that's how I was raised. It's
ingrained in me.
I know.
My great grandmother knows, like,
on time is late.
Especially for church.
That's
if you walk in the
man.
door and the choir's already singing.
You just like ripped open a wound, a 30-year-old wound. So
right. So
35, if I'm being honest. But go ahead.
So those soft skills, work ethic skills is what we call it. Want to make sure that we're producing well-rounded individuals. Again, conflict resolution, teamwork, discipline. Again, being on time, right? Understanding that you don't have to always like the person you're working with,
right?
But you've got to be able to coexist and work in that space with that individual to get the job done. Because in many instances, these are very high-tech, very these are difficult jobs in some instances, right?
Yes.
And if you don't have it between the ears, critical thinking, right? Decision making, it could be dangerous.
How do you go about building that? We'll use the word aptitude. How do you go about building that aptitude to make sure when they leave your campus and then they go over to I'm going to forget the name, the Megaplex.
Okay.
To get from your campus to the Megaplex, how do you go about making sure that they have that aptitude to be able to soak it all in like a sponge to Hyundai's specifications?
Yeah. So what we do in all of our programming, specifically our program in our energy sciences and our career and technical education division, is we work with our industry partners to make sure, okay, the pedagogy knowledge, right, the technical skill set, that's going to be baked in. They're going to learn hands-on. We're going to get all of that done.
Right.
But at the same time, industry sits with us at the table and walk our students through this process. So by the time they cross that stage, another plug for commencement coming up on May 20th. So excited to see those young men and women reach their goals of commencement and graduating college. But when they get to that point, our industry partners have been at the table with us. Our subject matter experts in fill in the blank curriculum or program, they've sat with them now for however long it's taken to get that student to the point of graduation to ensure that we've done all we can to make sure that that student is ready for work on day one. But let's also be very frank, is the individual has to have it within him or herself. Right?
100%.
Right. So we can do all of that.
Yes.
Right. But the individual, him or herself, have to be committed to excellence. They've got to be committed to doing the things that need to be done to, number one, complete the program and graduate. Number two, to make sure that they shine when they get in front of those industry partners in that interview, during internships, during mock interviews, and all the preparation that we do to get them to the point of completion.
All right, we got a number of different topics to cover here.
Let's
with
do
Quintin
it.
Taylor. We got about 6 minutes left in the segment too. So I want to go back. I want to rewind the clock to where was it Susan Bourgeois' office or the governor's office, whomever, when they first contacted you to say, this is what we need from you. I mean, to me, that feels like a flipping of the script, if you will. To me, that feels like finding an untapped resource. Your general reaction to that was what?
I was in awe.
Yeah.
In shock, right? I mean, we know brands, right? Brands are brands. We see them every day, brands, but this is a massive brand that has been around. I can remember as a kid, and I don't want to embarrass them, but they ran a promotion many years ago. You bought one, you got one for free. At least in South Florida, they did, right? And so I'm saying, man, Hyundai. But then they made it clear that, and I want full disclosure.
God, I remember that buy one get one. Oh man!
But look how far they've come, right?
Yeah.
But full disclosure, we were under an NDA and still are, right, to a certain extent, and so it was difficult to be able to say, man, this was happening.
Yeah.
And I couldn't even tell anyone.
Right.
I couldn't even talk about it, except for the individuals who were in the room and the individuals who had also signed the non-disclosures. But such as business. And so it was. I'll tell you a little insight. When we were sitting at the table, and I told you they came and spent the entire day with us, and the gentleman from Seoul asked with a straight face, "Can you train 1,500 individuals?" I had a lump in my throat, but I said, "Absolutely, we can.
Yeah,
absolutely, we can, and we will."
Mm-hmm.
Right, and this is what it's going to look like. And so we laid out what we thought the education and training plan should look like.
Mm-hmm.
So we've since gone back and forth on some of that in a very productive kind of way, and continue to do that work. So now the real work begins, Brian. So listen, we've had the pomp and circumstance. What a tremendous opportunity for Louisiana with the president at the White House and the governor.
Oh, yeah.
And our representatives up there. Got to shout out my Representative Kim Brass, District 58, and others. But my point is this: now the real work begins, because it is getting in the weeds, and it is laying out the programmatic piece of it. It is laying out how do we now build this $32 million training facility,
right?
That's going to be in Donaldsonville. Super excited about what this is going to do for that community and the surrounding communities from an economic development and prosperity standpoint. But then now we've got to begin to implement the training plan. We've got to begin to recruit and market to students to say, this is your opportunity. $95,000 a year on average for the 1,500 permanent jobs.
Yeah.
Think about the implications that's going to have on that community and lives and families and generations of young people.
Oh, family trees are going to change.
Who have historically, in some instances, and I don't want to overstate it, have grown up in poverty. Right. This is a massive opportunity for Louisiana.
Absolutely. Last one before we get you out of here for today. And
wait, I gotta go.
Well, for today.
Okay.
For today, I'm keeping your phone number because I have a feeling the answer to the next question is going to tee up the next conversation. Replication. What you're doing for Hyundai, is this merely the template for what you can be doing for whomever else asks?
Absolutely. Right. And so one of the pitches, I guess you'd say, that we made to Hyundai was, we've done these kinds of projects before, not to this scale.
Right.
Right. So scale is important here. But you heard me talk about that customizable piece earlier. Yeah. We've done this for some time now. So, but we can take this, what's just happened here, and create a new model, right? Or build upon what we've already done to bring it to scale. And I think we're going to do that. I think that's why you see such an emphasis and a focus from this administration and our Louisiana Economic Development folks. They're out there selling Louisiana like never before, and industry is interested in coming here because of many, many reasons. But I do believe it's the people and our access to natural resources that make us so attractive.
15 seconds left. When does this particular program physically get up and running?
Well, we're in the design phase for the training center.
Okay.
Training center. We hope, we're gonna knock on some wood, that's going to be done by the summer of 27. But we're training people today. My word to anybody who's interested in going to work, not just for Hyundai, but for any industry, enroll in a local community and technical college, RPCC specifically, so we get you trained and ready to go.
He is Quintin Taylor. RPCC.edu is the website. Thank you so much for a couple minutes.
Thank you, Brian. Appreciate the invitation.
Always. Here's news. On point. That was flipping fantastic.
Thank you.
As promised, as delivered. Donnie Miller said I needed to get. He was
my man.
One.
Yeah.
He was the first one that said you need to get Quintin on.
Yeah.
And well, he connected us via text.
Yep.
But he wasn't the only one. Like, because I was out there for the announcement.
Okay.
At
the Pay Center.
Pay Center. And yeah, 3/4 of people, like, it was where's Quintin? We need to get you in touch with him, and I had to bail early, so I didn't get to stick around because that announcement lasted freaking forever.
Dude, we're sitting there like, well, you're waiting on the president. You wait.
Right. Yeah, but my carpool doesn't wait.
That's a fact.
So yeah,
right,
to get from Pay Center back to Mid City Baton Rouge.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I had to bail. But no, Donnie said, let's get rolling here, and I'm like, I'm here for it.
You know what? And I'm just thinking out loud, and I don't know how often you take the show on the road, but I love so as we're talking about recruiting and marketing to get people in.
Kill the mics for a quick sec, because we're.
I'm sorry.
No. Yeah. Like Jessica, like she drinks whiskey neat. Like you can. Oh. Are we going to see a repeat of yesterday's forecast? A little bit, but not probably not as bad. Those rains we got last night were excessive. Okay, here's what we got going on for today. If I can get there we go. We do have I'm sorry, we won't see it today. We'll see the repeat tomorrow. We're down to a 25% chance of rain today with a high of 85. We're at a 50-50 chance of rain tomorrow. Now, when's that going to hit? It'll be tomorrow in the afternoon hours. As of right now, tomorrow, the say 3 until 5 in the afternoon, we'll get some of those potential thunderstorms rolling back through. Friday, we scale back to a 20% chance of rain with a high of 87. Saturday, we're getting up to 89. Sunday, we're up to 90. Monday, we're at 90 all the way until next Wednesday when rain's going to roll back through again. Right now, we still got some fog out there. It's 72 in downtown Baton Rouge. There should be a DC current open on the bumper. 838 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Unbelievably busy show thus far, and we are nowhere near done because it is time for DC Current. No, that's Christ. There it is. Want to welcome back Congresswoman Julia Letlow. Congresswoman Letlow, how are you?
I'm doing well, Brian. How are you?
I could not be better. I just got done having a conversation with the chancellor of River Parishes Community College, talking about that workforce training following the Hyundai announcement from a few weeks ago. And I got to say, he's got me fired up. So, over the moon.
That is so awesome. I love those public-private partnerships. That's what it's all about. That's what's going to transform our state.
Absolutely. You're probably going to be working on a little bit of this up in your neck of the woods with Meta. I mean, because once Meta starts hiring, they're going to need workforce there as well.
Absolutely. We've already seen ULM step up to the plate. Louisiana Delta Community Colleges are putting together programming. So I am over the moon, just like you are, that we are providing the workforce that these companies need. It truly is a partnership, and it has to be for us to move forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing of it is, it's the real world step in the equation, right? I mean, we could talk about numbers and we could talk about announcements and the overall work being done, but when you start talking about the actual training and hiring, that's when the people who went to the booth and voted for you reap the rewards.
Absolutely. Brian, these are good paying jobs too. I mean, really well paid positions. So we're setting our kids up for future success and making sure these businesses can stay here and thrive. So I'm like you, I could not be happier about what's happening across the state.
Yeah, absolutely. We got Congresswoman Julia Letlow with us. This is DC Current, presented by the Louisiana Association of Business and Industry. Before we get into more business, I do want to move to a much more somber topic. Pope Francis passing away over the weekend, Monday morning. You actually got the chance to meet him, I guess it was about 2 years ago?
Yes, what an incredible experience. You know, I had the honor of going on Speaker McCarthy's congressional delegation trip, and it was my first CODEL, as they call them. And every day was just an incredible experience, but I'll never forget that day because Speaker McCarthy said, "Julia, guess what we're going to do today?" And I said, "I have no idea." He said, "We are going to meet the Pope." And I lost it. I said, "You have got to be kidding me." And it was such a sweet, incredible experience. He could not have been more humble and kind. And if you have just 1 second, I'd love to tell you a funny story about it. So right before we were going to go in to meet him, we got a message that said, "You can purchase rosaries and the Pope will bless them for you." Mm-hmm. Well, Brian, I'm not Catholic. So I said, "Well, you know what? I guess I'll buy 2. They were $11 each, just in case my kids decide to be Catholic one day." And so little did I know, I go in to meet the Pope. He blesses my 2 rosaries. It was really sweet. Well, then my good friend from New York, I look over. His name's Andrew Garbarino, so you can imagine he's extremely Catholic, and he has a whole platter of rosaries. He bought like 250 rosaries for the Pope to bless, and he is walking around New York right now. I mean, just a champion for all of the people handing out these rosaries that were blessed by the Pope. And Brian, I mean, it's no secret to you. I never would have thought in a million years my district would turn into a significant population being Catholic. So I really missed out on that opportunity.
You probably could have hit up. You probably could have locked up re-election for the rest of your life with bringing home the right amount of rosaries with a papal blessing on them. And yes, as a Catholic, I will go ahead and do the afterwards critique here and say, yeah, you missed an opportunity there, Congresswoman.
Hey, the governor told me yesterday, I was telling that story, and he said, yeah, I could have shown you how to use it, Julia.
Okay, grab that quote because we're going to use it over and over and over again. That was awesome. We get Congresswoman Julia Letlow with us. We do have some business to tend to for sure, though. Budget. Where are we at right now, and what work is left to be done?
Yeah, so we've been out on a 2-week recess to be with our districts, which has been great. But we'll reconvene next week and work to reauthorize the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. And all that work will kick into high gear. So you've heard this. This is President Trump's one big, beautiful bill, but it has to go through each committee. And there's a lot of work that will begin to be done to develop it next week. So it's expected to include border security and energy provisions on top of those tax cuts. But Brian, if we don't act by the end of 2025, taxes will go up by 24%. So this work has to be done. I have full faith in the speaker and the leader that they have the wherewithal to get it all the way through because the country's depending on it. So we have a lot of work set up for us when we get back to DC, and I'm ready to hit the ground running.
The margins are so thin, though, when it comes to web count. The margin for error is so thin on the web count. It's just, hey, when you have, quote, one big, beautiful bill, does that make it that much tougher because it's got to be so inclusive and getting everybody rowing in the same direction. I mean, y'all can't agree on pizza toppings.
I know. And if this had been a year or two ago, I would have said it was never possible. But I think now we have the right leadership. Everybody's rowing in the same direction. And I've been pleasantly surprised so far this year, Brian, with what we've been able to pass through. So, you know me, I'm ever the optimist, but I think that we can really get this done.
We are talking with Congresswoman Julia Letlow. Hey, can we go back to economic development a little bit? We touched on it with Meta, but you've got a proposal looking to boost rural economic development. Can you expound upon that a little bit?
Yeah, it's really just an effort to make sure that our agencies that promote small businesses and small business opportunities for the rural, the rural development areas have the resources that they need, but also that they're all working together and making sure that they're being as efficient as possible and making it easier for our small businesses, say, to go for a small business loan. A lot of times things get caught up in red tape. It takes way too long for these small businesses to be able to apply. So really, it's just an effort for more efficiency. I think that's what the American people are demanding. Mm-hmm. And so I'm ready to step up to the plate on that one too.
And this is one that definitely hits home within a good chunk of your district. How much are you able to use the Meta announcement as kind of, I've used the word template way too much this morning, but as a guide along the way to say, we know how to do it, we can get things done?
Yes, because what an incredible example. And I know we've talked about all the spin-off opportunities that Meta is going to bring to an area that desperately needs it in Northeast Louisiana. And I want those opportunities to be ready to go and in place and for people to be able to capitalize on that. So yes, Meta is a perfect example of how when you attract a big fish to your area, that the ripple effects are going to last for generations to come. And I want to make it as easy as possible for people to take advantage of that.
Yeah, I mean, when the big fish comes through, you want to make sure all the small fish can still eat.
That's right. That's right.
We got about 2.5 minutes left with Congresswoman Julia Letlow. This is, of course, DC Current, presented by the Louisiana Association of Business and Industry. You can check them out at labi.org. Congressman, you said you're in the district right now.
I am.
Okay. Mississippi River levels. I'm curious what your on a congressional level, what's y'all's involvement in helping out as the river rises and presents, problems up and down?
Sure. Well, we are definitely working with the Corps as they continue to monitor. I have a great relationship with them. Want to make sure that they are A, doing everything that they possibly can, but B, have the resources to do that. I know it can be a very worrisome time, especially for everyone in the district. So we want to make sure that people know that we're doing everything we can to monitor and that we will be here for any questions that they have. So I know that with water levels approaching 40 feet in Baton Rouge, it can be a bit nerve-wracking. So we're just making sure that we have a pulse on it, that we're working with our partners, and that they have everything they need to protect the capital region.
Yeah, and around the capital, around here, I mean, at least we have the benefit of the levees. The further upriver you go, the less built up levee you have, so it can present different problems along the way. Last one before I get you out of here, and I want to say, since you announced it before, but since the last time we've talked, the Baton Rouge office is open now?
Yes, it is open. We are ready to serve. It's off of Jefferson, right across from Perlis. I'll have to go look up the exact address. I haven't committed it to memory. But,
I've got it in front of me. I wasn't going to bring you on and not have it in front of me. 7932 Renwood, Suite C.
There we go.
Yeah.
There we go. They've done a wonderful job with it. It's warm and inviting. If there are any veterans or you need help with passports or, God forbid, the IRS, come in, see us. We are happy to help. We're here to serve the capital region.
She is Congresswoman Julia Letlow, joins us for DC Current. Honestly, as often as the schedule allows. Congresswoman, we greatly appreciate the time, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you. Have a great weekend, Brian.
You do the same. Of course, brought to you by LABI, Louisiana Association of Business and Industry. They are your state's Chamber of Commerce. Hey, before we hit our break, got to remind you about the folks at Mathern's. You know where to find them downtown. 3rd and Main. Well, you know what? Also 4th and Main, because they've got the parking lot is actually on the back side of the store there on the 4th Street side of the store. Entrances on either side. Fantastic lunch counter, fantastic salad bar, but they are downtown's full-service grocery store. Now, moved from downtown, they opened up on campus a few years ago. Nicholson Gateway Shopping Center, directly across the street from Tiger Stadium. Now, let's rewind the clock years and years and years ago. They used to be Kenilworth Supermarket over there on Highland Road, right by the Kenilworth subdivision. Well, they're back. They're back in their original Baton Rouge location, the OG location. Mathern's Market at Kenilworth is back. And if you download the Mathern's Rewards app, you can earn cash towards more groceries and take advantage of savings at each of these locations. The app is good for all of them. Download the app today. Brand new deals of the week coming out every single week. For example, this week, your new deal is going to be a 5-pound bag of Food Club white rice, only $2.50. Get that and a whole lot more with the Mathern's app today. EAS, the emergency alert system. Who is this person? Hmm. Matt says RPCC has a beautiful building. Galen says Quintin's an awesome guy. Matt also says Haggai has a birthday. Okay. I'm just now getting caught up. What you say, Rich?
No, I'm messing with you. No, I'm messing with you. I was just joking. It was part of the joke. Oh, yeah. Like you saying, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
5 years ago today, dude.
Joe Burrow drafted number one overall.
You, man. You're dressing nice. You're smelling nice.
I'm telling you, I can do a show once in a while.
I gotta go parking over there in the Breck Park.
Is that one of the ones that
Go find a Breck Park off of Lanner or something.
they I'll tell you what. Hey, you're either getting lucky or shot at that park. Huh? You're either getting lucky or shot at that park. I want to Flannery.
Let's go to Fat Harry's. You want to go to Fat Harry's?
I haven't been to Fat Harry's in a long ass time.
I need to go to Bud, bro.
The original one, I think, is.
We'll go play bingo and pick up some purple heads.
Playing video poker. Gotta.
Man, look, I want the one with the oxygen. It's easy to satisfy.
Hey, get 3 video.
Good.
No, I got home late from softball. Not as late as Alondra got home from baseball, but I got home late from softball, and I was in an intense pain last night. Probably why I'm so tired right now is I'm still in pain. The Talk 107.3 Spring Cha-Ching, powered by Citizens Bank and Trust, is back. Register today at talk1073.com for your chance to win $5,000 cash. It's Spring Cha-Ching from Citizens Bank and Trust and Talk 107.3 FM. Also, while I'm doing the whole promo thing, let me remind you, Talk 107.3 welcomes comedian Rob Schneider to the Raising Cane's River Center Friday, May 16th for his, I got it, You Can Do It tour. Register at talk1073.com and listen to this show for your chance to win tickets to the show. Plus, when you sign up online, make sure to subscribe to our Talk 1073 Baton Rouge YouTube channel for an extra entry. All right. Been a super busy show today. We've covered a lot on the insurance front. We covered a little bit on the business front. We talked about some congressional business with Congresswoman Letlow. I tell you what, let's wrap things up by going back to the state capitol for a topic that I think really pushes the emotional buttons for a lot of folks. Speed cameras. There is a bill. It just made its way out of the Senate Judiciary Committee that would do away with speed cameras in the state. Now, under our current law, all municipalities that use speed enforcement cameras in school zones need to have an agreement in place on how money collected would be split. However, the bill's author, Monroe Republican Stuart Cathy, says some cities and towns are operating those cameras without such agreements. He told the committee the speed cameras are nothing but a money grab.
I have towns that are taking in more revenue in speed camera fines than they take in property taxes, sales taxes, insurance premium taxes combined.
Let's start chatting over on Facebook Live. Of course, our Facebook Live brought to you every day by the folks at Lake Urgent Care. Let's chat over at Facebook Live real quick as the show's wrapping up and we hand off to Moon Griffon. What's your take on the speed cameras? I'm split on this because, and I'm willing to hear both sides. It's on the one hand, duh, of course it's a money grab. Yes. But at the same time, though, if you're not speeding, they're not grabbing your money. Isn't the hope that the speed cameras would be a deterrent to speeding overall? Cathy says one village's revenue illustrates this point.
In the village of Clayton alone, in 2022, they did $21,000 worth of traffic violations. They put speed cameras in, and they went to $499,000 worth of revenue from these things.
What? I wonder how much that was actually collected, though. Cathy says in an unscientific study, they found that speed cameras were less popular than herpes.
I've got some.
I don't think that. I think the word unscientific might be an understatement there. He says the general public just doesn't like them, and many local lawmakers aren't too thrilled with them either. You know what? We're gonna run out of time. I'm looking at that right now. Okay, you're on it. I'm not. We got to go. Moon Griffon is next. No, good job, Cassie. That's on me. All right, Facebook, let's stick around for about 2 more minutes before I got to bail. Traffic cameras. And I might not stick around for 2 more minutes. Traffic cameras, though, it's clearly a money grab, right? Like but you're grabbing the money of people who are breaking the law. Am I wrong in this? I'm hard pressed to, and thank you, Byron, for saying good show. I'm hard pressed to defend people who speed, especially through school zones. That's why I can kind of see both sides of this equation here, both sides of this coin, is to say that, oh, I don't like the traffic cameras because they're a money grab. Well, okay, then you're in favor of speeding. And then why don't you put a real cop there and let him pull people over for speeding? Sorry, I'll get back on task. But, okay, so that cop pulls somebody over for speeding, and while he's got them pulled over, 20 more people speed through. By the way, if the village of Clayton can collect $500,000, just shy of $500,000 off of speed cameras, I have to wonder, how big is the village of Clayton? That would have to literally be everybody every day not learning their damn lesson. Byron says, so there's a few fans out there of herpes. That's funny. If speed cameras are less popular than herpes, then that tells me herpes has some level of popularity. I can always count on Byron. All right, we're going to get out of here, y'all. We will be back at it tomorrow. I believe Haggai's in for a cup of tech gumbo. Jason DeQueer in from Advantis Consulting to talk tax bills. iCare's going to be in for Crime Stoppers, although Don's got to come by to help me register for the pickleball tournament, which my knee better be ready for that. We got a full slate for tomorrow. We'll see you then.